Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what is going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of the Steelers postgame show. And the way the Steelers played today, we might not be having many more of these for the 2019 regular season as the Steelers lose 16-10 to the lowly New York Jets. It was as bad as the score would indicate. Lance Williams, my co-host, always joins me in the postgame show. As we always do, Lance, knee-jerk reactions. I mean, I should say kicking the ball reactions, because that's what it feels like. It feels like the Steelers and their fan base just got kicked right in the nuts.
Well, sometimes reality hits you right in the face, and I think the reality of it is that this is a very average football team on one side of the ball. It's a very good football team on the other side of the ball. When you put those two together, they're a very average football team. I think what we've seen with the quarterback position and the inconsistency of play at the quarterback position, they can lose every game.
I'm going to go a step further and say that you calling this offense average is ridiculously generous.
Yes, it's because it's the Christmas season.
Generous.
It's the Christmas season.
That's great. I love the Christmas season. If you call this a spade, this offense sucks. They are awful. And here's what really ticks me off, because I'm kind of fired up. I just want to give listeners a little warning that I'm a little fired up right now. Okay,
the Dr. Reverend Hartman, the Reverend Hartman has made an appearance. Preach.
He might be walking in the door in a second. It's not just about the quarterback position for me. This is about so much more than that. This is about an offensive line that's touted as one of the best in the league, not being able to protect their quarterback, regardless of who the quarterback is. When you have Devlin Hodges or Mason Rudolph, and we'll talk about that change and all that stuff, your offensive line can't open holes in the running game, and you can't protect the quarterback. You're not an elite unit, so let's quit hanging our hat on that, because there's nothing to hang our hat on. The receiving core, they're young, I get it, but my gosh, when you have an opportunity to make a play, you got to make a play. Juju Smith-Schuster comes back. That last play was awful. The 4th and 7 to end the game. The ball went right through his hands. I mean, literally right through his hands. And it gets to the point where we're saying, holy cow, we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, both in the post game and in the standard as a standard. This offense is so delicate, it cannot withstand any type of missed opportunity or negative play. They can't get out of their own way. And that even goes down to also Randy Fichtner's awful play call. I'll tell you what, I don't care if he's Ben Roethlisberger's boy. I'm firing him at the end of the season, period. I got to be honest, and I'm not that guy. I don't care if he's Ben Roethlisberger's buddy. He has done nothing but made me scratch my head the entire season. I have no clue what this guy's thinking sometimes. It was the I love the 2nd and 11 draw call. Randyland. Welcome to Randyland, everybody. Get prepared to get your mind blown in Randyland.
Well, we know Ben and Randy are brothers in beard, just like we're brothers in beard. It's the beard connection. You see, listeners, like we're coordinated. We both got the beards. I haven't cut mine for a while. I'm trying to catch up to Jeff. Unfortunate thing is Jeff's beard probably glows 4 times faster than mine. I'll never have a beard that long. If Jeff let his go for another 3 days, Jeff would look like Ben. But Randy is bad. The offensive line is bad. The skill players are bad. Connor is fragile. Juju looked a step slow. The force was not strong with Juju in this particular game. It is so fragile, and it's so fragile on both sides of the ball, because the defense could get you 7 3-and-outs in a row or whatever they got in this game, but you give up a score on the first drive and you put the game in peril. As soon as the Jets came out on that first drive and scored a touchdown, the game was in peril. But there's a couple of sequences as well in this game that you just can't have. And we're going to talk about a couple of those sequences in this game that, as good as this defense was, there are a couple of run plays where they set the Jets up for field position, which is just bad, that you can't give up. They've got to choke this game out. And they're very good, but the offense just doesn't support them. This offense is absolutely terrible. And the question, I think the title of the program is, do the Steelers deserve to go to the playoffs, correct?
Well, no, it wasn't a question. It was definitive. The Steelers offense, the Steelers offense doesn't, they make the Steelers not worthy of being in the postseason. I think their defense is very postseason worthy. They've held teams off of 17 points or less in the last 3 weeks, and It's just they have no help at all. None.
You know what I was thinking when I was watching the game? I was just thinking, I was talking to my pop as we were watching the game. I was just saying to myself, the milk is spoiled. I mean, the milk has spoiled. Like, when you try to stretch milk out and you look at the expiration date and you try to get it to a couple of days past because you're like, man, in your case, Jeff, it's cold. I don't want to go outside, go get no milk, man. We got a couple of days. We're going to stretch this. In my case, I'm just lazy. Don't want to jump into the car, drive around the corner and get milk or get any milk delivered. And you're just trying to stretch the milk. But they can't stretch that milk anymore. That milk is curdled. It's cottage cheese. It's over. And it doesn't even matter who plays quarterback. Mason came out with zinging throws. He gets hit in the head. Bink. He's out. Oh, man. It's just bad at the quarterback position. And, the best quarterback, unfortunately, is a 325-pound guy with a beard that weighs 75 pounds, and he's sitting on the sidelines.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Mason Rudolph and the switch that they made in the second quarter. And Kyle Smith puts $5 in the tip jar. He's a longtime viewer and listener of our programs. He says, as I've always believed, Rudolph is greater than Duck. Rudolph's highs are much higher than Duck's. Rudolph should have started. Duck was undrafted for a reason. I definitely understand what he's saying. And we can play the result all we want. But there was a time where Devlin Hodges had this team looking good. He was moving the ball well. But as we predicted, and not only us, but other people on our channel did, it's one of those situations where as more tape gets put out there, defenses are going to adjust to you. And I feel like that's what happened with Devlin Hodges. They realized, okay, if we do this, that, and the other, he's not going to be able to handle this blitz, or he hasn't experienced this. It's something he hasn't seen before. And the learning curve caught up to him. Going to Mason Rudolph, I felt they did it at the right time. I thought when he came in, I thought he was going to, and it's really crazy, Lance, that you did that podcast yesterday, the Steelers burning question about, are they getting ready to go back to Mason Rudolph? And Devlin Hodges didn't even get to halftime, and here we are. And I thought that Mason Rudolph played well. I didn't think that it was like drastically different than what we saw from him earlier in the season. But at the same time, he was delivering the ball on time. He was confident in the pocket. And it's just really, really awful the way things kind of played out with the botch snap. He picks it up. Or no, I'm sorry, that was the play where he got stepped on, wasn't it, that he got hurt? He hurt his left shoulder. And What were your thoughts on Mason Rudolph? And my question for you is, if Mason Rudolph stays in the game, do they win?
No, they don't win if he stays in the game because the offense totally sucks. They don't win. They can't string together enough plays. So I don't think they would have won because the offense is bad. It just totally sucks. But the thing I thought about when I watched the difference between the two is the difference between standard definition and high definition. It's when you have a 480 TV and a 1080p or a 1080i TV. It looked like Devlin Duck Hodges balls take 5 years to get to the intended target. When you watched Mason Rudolph throw, it looked like electric. It looked like he was throwing lightning bolts like Mighty Zeus. The difference in terms of arm strength and being able to make stick throws. I mean, he was throwing lightning bolts and darts. I mean, it didn't always go to the right people, but wow, it was coming out hot. It was coming out quick. And you could even see the difference in how receivers were running the routes and how crisp the routes looked when they knew that the ball was going to come out on time with accuracy and with some juice on it. So, I mean, it's a case of, hopefully Mason Rudolph is healthy because he gives the Steelers their best chance to win next week. But all is not dead when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Zecharias Barajas, he puts $1.99 and says, I spent $15 at Buffalo Wild Wings to see the fourth quarter. Waste. I wasted like 3 hours of my life watching this offense. So we all lost something.
You knew what BWW was? I had no idea what that was.
I just assumed. I could be wrong. Maybe BWW is something. I just figured he was going somewhere to watch the game. Buffalo Wild Wings is a popular spot across the nation. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Big Wild Women or something. Maybe some underground dark web acronym that I don't know.
Jeez, I don't want to get into that. Here's the thing. You went and talked about, Mason Rudolph gives him the best chance to win. And look at the way that the passes were coming out of his hand. If we were to rewind the tape go back to the post game, week 12 at Cincinnati, you would have been saying the same exact thing about Devlin Hodges when he came in the third quarter because he made throws that Rudolph. It is uncanny how I want to say cyclical, but I don't know if that's the right word to use when it comes to how the whole quarterback situation and the way that they've kind of come in and out of the game. It's just really weird. It's been a weird season. This season has been we do a fan pulse article every week on behindthesteelcurtain.com. Make sure you check out the website if you're just an audio listener. It's a great site. And it kind of graphs the fan confidence at each point of every week, starting from the preseason in week 1. And so it looks like a Kennywood roller coaster, just plummets. And then here we go again on a winning streak and plummets. And it'll be really, really low.
Nice Kennywood reference. Nice Kennywood reference.
You're welcome. So for me, I don't have much confidence in this team moving forward. And why would I? The defense can only make so many plays. They surrender a touchdown on the opening drive, and that's bad. But at the same time, you hold a team to 16 points. You're just hoping for something, 2 touchdowns, just 2. Listen, here's a better question. When was the last time we've seen offense this bad in Pittsburgh?
I don't know. I don't think ever. I don't think
you'd probably have to go to 2003 when Tommy Maddox and the team were just dreadful, and that was a 6-10 season that resulted in Ben Roethlisberger in 2004. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, it is painfully bad. But I have another amusement park reference. You might be too young for this one. In the live chat, they'll know what I'm talking about, especially if you're from the north side. How about Westview Park? I went to Westview Park a couple of times. That was an old school amusement park that got closed, I think, in the 70s. Of course, so you would not know about that, youngster. Nope. Young whippersnapper there. But this offense is terrible. The only good thing is that the teams that are trying to get the 6th seed appear to not want to get the 6th seed. So,
yeah. So let's talk about playoff scenarios at this point in time with the Steelers losing. The Tennessee Titans lost today, but that game meant absolutely nothing anyways. Even if the Steelers control their own destiny now, they have to win in week 17, but it also really depends on the Titans and what they do in week 17. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lance. Even if the Steelers lose in week 17 to the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium, if the Titans lose to the Texans, they would then be the 6th seed, correct?
Let me read the scenarios out. And some of them don't apply because both teams lost. But here are the scenarios according to Ian Rappaport, which means take it with a grain of salt because it's Ian Rappaport. Scenario number 1, Steelers win next 2 games, they're the 6th seed. Of course, that won't happen. Steelers win 1 of 2. Tennessee beats New Orleans and loses to Houston. Of course, that won't happen. They'd be the 6th seed. The Titans would be the 6th seed if the Steelers win 1 of 2 and Tennessee beats Houston. Of course, that won't happen either. That could happen. No, actually, it won't happen because that could happen. So that scenario is in play where the Steelers could win 1 of 2 and Tennessee beats Houston. It would be the Titans. The last scenario is Steelers lose next 2 games. Titans get the 6th seed. So those are the 4. So it looks like the Steelers have to win to get in. But I guess it's because the Steelers would have lost 2 conference games to close out the year if you lose to the Jets and you lose to the Ravens, even if the Titans lose out and they both finish 8-8. It seems, I guess, that because they lost to the Saints, which is an NFC team, that they would end up having a better conference record and they would go in at 8-8. So Steelers win and get in.
That's awful. We'll have an article on the website behindthesteelcurtain.com with you in regards to the overall AFC playoff scenario and how it's going to look and what the Steelers can and cannot do. So it's going to be one of those situations where you don't control your own destiny, so to speak, anymore. I mean, it's not as simple as a win and in because I believe if, like you said, if they win and the Titans win, then
they're out.
They're out. So they're going to need to do some scoreboard watching, and the Titans and Texans play in Houston. Houston already locked up the AFC South with their win over the Buccaneers. The Steelers fans, if you were smart, you were rooting for the Buccaneers to win so that Houston had to play for something this week. That didn't happen, but the Baltimore Ravens beat the Browns today. So that if there's any silver lining, it's that the Ravens could be sitting players next Sunday at M&T Bank Stadium, not wanting to have them, like Lamar Jackson, take a shot from TJ Watt or something like that.
So I'm guessing right now after today, and somebody in the live chat can correct me if I'm wrong, that the Titans, even though they lost, are now the 6th seed.
I don't know.
That's one for the Oracle. That's one for the Oracle. It feels like they would be the 6th seed. That if the Steelers won next week and Tennessee beats Houston, that if Tennessee would go in, it would feel like the Tennessee, even though they both lost, are the 6th seed.
Checking the AFC playoff picture right now, and NFL.com usually has this updated live as games are going on. Yes, the Steelers are now the projected 7th seed. The Titans, with a loss today at 8-6, move ahead of them. So that is the state of the Steelers right now. And the one thing that I keep asking myself is, at what point, if you make the playoffs, is it just basically for experience and for fun? Because is this team going to go to Houston or going to go to Kansas City most likely and beat that team?
They can't score.
That's exactly it, yeah.
They can't score. So, even with no Lamar Jackson, even if you put RG3 out there, the question is, can they score enough points? So what if the defense goes out and gives up 13? Can they get 13? That's the question. That's why if we do the number segment, and we may not do the number segment, the first number that I'm pointing to is 10. That's the number one number, 10 points. Can they actually score enough points in a game to win? Right now, you would say no.
Yeah, I feel bad for the defense because I feel like the defense is playing good football, and they did, like I said, surrendered that touchdown early in the game. That was bad. But after that, they did a good job against that offense. And again, those turnovers, especially the interceptions early by Hodges, were just backbreaking. And they didn't give up points off those turnovers, but it took points off the board, especially the second one, which ended in that just really bad interceptions by Devlin Hodges. It's one of those, everyone that was so big on him protecting the football, well, something happened. I'm not sure what it was, but something happened. It wasn't pretty. So
what ran out on Duck is, and the reason why they really had to make the switch is not just that he's turning the football over. It's the decisions that he's making with the football that lead to the turnovers. On that interception, he had a crosser to James Washington that's wide open. And, maybe it's the mentality, maybe it's the gift and the curse mentality that you have to be somewhat aggressive to be an undrafted guy coming from Samford to get to the National Football League, where you have to take some risks. You can't be too conservative. It's sort of like the saying in baseball where, you're not going to get off the island hitting singles. You're going to get off the island hitting home runs. Who's going to go to another country to find a slap hitter? You can find those anywhere. And, maybe Devlin Hodges' mindset finally caught up to him because he was making bad reads consistently. That throw, and it came back to haunt them even in the game last week against Buffalo, where there's the crosser route underneath late in the game where he can hit James Washington for the crosser, and he might score against Buffalo. Just not making consistent reads, trying to make too much of something that is not there. And maybe that mentality that made him duck is finally coming back to bite him.
No, you agree 100%. Absolutely 100%. Let's talk about some injuries that took place during the game today. James Conner leaves with a quad, Mason Rudolph with a shoulder, and Marquise Pouncey with a knee. That one might be a little concerning, the knee to Pouncey. Still, I want to ask you, and I hate doing this because I know we're live post-game, and this is so hot with me right now and everyone really watching in the live stream, but this offense, not just moving forward into week 17, but think about next season. Everyone says that they're going to be set. They'll be fine. There are certain positions where I feel we'll be okay, especially if Roethlisberger can return and be healthy. James Conner is really making me question how the Steelers plan around him and if he is a part of those plans moving forward based on his sheer durability. When he's healthy, I love James Conner. I think that he is a very, very good running back, and he's a guy that runs hard, is tough to bring down, but that also lends himself to getting injured more often. Lance, what are your thoughts on Conner in terms of the Steelers? Do you like their stable of backs with Benny Snell and Kareth White Jr. and Jalen Samuels, or is it time they need to find a feature back?
I think they have to draft another running back. And one of the things I want to do, I always talk about things in terms of performance, pay, and pedigree. Correct me if I'm wrong, but James Conner was a second-round draft pick, correct?
No, third.
Third-round draft, okay. Being that he was a third-round draft pick, the pedigree is there. He's a valuable player to them because they drafted him in the third round. So what I think happens is I think because he only has one year left under his contract he signed throughout the 2020 season, I think that's what takes care of it. I think what will happen will be they will offer him a restricted free agent tender, possibly underneath his draft grade, where if somebody wants them, they'll offer it under his draft grade. So it won't take a third round draft pick for them to get him. Or maybe they'll do that, but they'll offer him a tender as a restricted free agent. And I think they're going to go out and get a running back. He cannot be the feature running back. What he can be, though, I think is a very good number 2 running back. If they can draft a back with juice in the draft that they think can be a number 1 running back, then all of a sudden, if you can slot Conner at the 2 back and Samuel as the number 3 back with Kareth White and his versatility, I think now your running back core is solid. But you can't have James Conner as your number 1 back because he just cannot stay healthy. But with the base salary of under $1 million, he'll be on the team next year. He's in his last year. He'll get a restricted free agent tender. To be interested to see what that is. But he will be in the plans at least for another year or 2, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's still on his rookie deal that they can just keep him. And they don't need to do anything special. They just keep him on the team.
And I think they'll even tender him for an additional season. So I think he'll be with the Steelers for another 2. He'll be there 2020 and 2021. But I don't think he'll be the feature guy.
Well, so then what do you do with Benny Snell? I mean, you drafted Benny Snell in what was it, the 4th round of this past draft? Or maybe it was the 3rd. I could be wrong. But it was mid-round. It was
you Mr. Jump off sides on a 4th and that guy?
That guy. Which, by the way, since you brought that play up, since when in the NFL are you not allowed? I grew up knowing that defensive players can go into the neutral zone and get back as long as they didn't make contact or force movement. Just because an offensive player stands up, like to me, that's what is going on with that?
They're saying that he influenced the guy to stand up,
and that's what I hate. They basically might as well say once you cross the line, it's a false start. They might as well change it
because they never offensive linemen. Because they teach offensive linemen, if you see that guy get into the neutral zone, jump, so you can get the call, so you can get the 5 yards.
I get it. No, the officiating in the NFL sucks, anyways. So whatever. Let's go through some numbers. And Dave Schofield says what I thought I was thinking. That is that tenders are only for undrafted players. So he won't have any tender put on him because he is a drafted player.
Right. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Because they changed it. There's basically no restricted free agency anymore because everybody starts with 4-year deals. So you become an undrafted, you become an unrestricted free agent. Thank you, Dave, on that, because it did change. Basically, they killed restricted free agency essentially with the last CBA. So with that being said, let me amend my comments. Next year will probably be his last year as a Steeler.
I would agree with that. But the Steelers offense anymore, I mean, I don't feel like they're a quarterback away. That's everyone says, I can't wait for Ben to come back. Well, at this point, everyone can't wait for Ben to come back. But I don't feel like they're just a quarterback away from being a 30-point team. It's just not there. I understand a quarterback can make up a lot, but at the same time, do you think that they're just a quarterback away, Lance?
I think they are. I mean, I don't think this is a 30-point a game offense. But what I think with Ben back, they can score enough points if this defense can remain pretty much intact over the course of the offseason, which is going to be a challenge, which I illustrated in a show a couple of weeks ago about how the Steelers have to keep this defense intact. If they can keep the defense fairly intact, hopefully there's a new CBA next year. With this defense, the way it is playing now, they don't have to be a 30-point point team. They can be a 25 to 26 point team and win a lot of football games. And I think there are plays that, of course, the young quarterbacks are leaving out there that with Ben, they make and they win. There were plays last week in the Buffalo game. If it's Ben Roethlisberger, they make those plays. They probably win those games. If Ben is playing this year, I think they have 10 to 11 wins. So, if that defense can remain very good next year, I think they can be very good because I think Ben will elevate the wide receiver position and they'll see different coverages, which in effect will help the running game as well.
Okay. Snowman puts $2 in the tip jar. He says Dave Schofield for offensive coordinator. At this point, I don't know. My 11-year-old son would probably do a better job. But
line up 9 guys on one side, run to that side. When you're watching another 9 guys line up to that. Yeah, that stuff. Let me jump into a number, Jeff. Of course, the first number was 10 points. We talked about that. Yep. Not enough to win football games. My number 3 of 14, 21% on third down. Not good enough.
Yeah. Say that number again.
They were 3 of 14 on third down. They converted 21% of their third downs.
And the thing is, that's probably about average for them for the season.
Yeah, it's not good. It's trending low. I believe they're bottom third, maybe around 28, 29, 30, somewhere around there when it comes to third down conversions.
That's awful. That is absolutely awful. And you want to people on Twitter were pointing at the defense saying how they lost the game. They're on the field a heck of a lot too. Let's keep that in mind. Everyone's like, why isn't Watt out there? Why are they putting Chicolo out there? Well, you can't. That's a ton of snaps. You want to keep them fresh.
Like you need a blow. I mean, the problem is, and I understand why people on Twitter are saying the defense lost the game. It's because the margin of error that the defense has to play with for them to win is so slim. So if they give up anything, it feels like the game is over because they gave up one touchdown in the game. I mean, that's why it feels like the game is over. Because they give up one touchdown, you feel like, man, can this offense actually score enough points to overcome a touchdown?
It's a razor-thin margin for error on both sides.
It's no margin. It's not even
but no, because
it's bone on bone, baby. It's bone on bone.
Yeah.
It is bone on bone, baby.
No, I know. I still can't believe for the life of me that the Steelers offense put up 0 points in the second half. But that happened. They scored 10. They were shut out in 3 out of 4 quarters. They scored 10 points in the second quarter.
We can believe it. We can believe it because we see it. We see what this offense is. We don't want to believe it, but we can believe it. Let me give you another. Hold
on. You get a hater alert here. Grayson Brown puts 1999.
Oh, I love haters, though. I love haters, man. Grayson gave like 15 last show. Yeah, Grayson, we love you. You're not a hater. You are a hater alert.
He said, I picked them to lose this game. No touchdowns in an entire second half. Yikes. OC doesn't have the acumen to construct game plans to win. Do you really want to see this team in the playoffs? I don't.
I want to see him in the playoffs. I want to see him in the playoffs. The reason I want to see him in the playoffs is because if you don't go to the playoffs, you can't compete for the chip. So I want to see him go to the playoffs. Maybe Randy Fichtner has a lobotomy over the course of the bye week or the week that they have, between week, 18 and week 19 or week 17.
The bye week? There's no bye week for them. They'll be playing after week 17.
Yeah, what is that? Like week 7? Maybe he has a lobotomy that Sunday and sort of like Frankenstein or something, or it might be as bad as Frankenstein, and he constructs a quality game plan. It could happen. Have faith. Hashtag Homer and Homer. Hashtag Homer squared.
Have faith. Did you really just say that?
Homer squared. Here's the problem. And I was laughing about it a couple of weeks ago because I predicted on this post-game show and on several shows that I thought the Titans were going to lose all 3 games. I just didn't think that the Steelers would potentially lose all 3 games and lose their way out of the playoffs while Tennessee loses its way into the playoffs. But let me jump into this other number because it coincides, in my opinion, with the 3 of 14 on third down. The Steelers averaged 3.9 yards per play.
It's awful. I guess my question for you when you're looking at these numbers, I don't have them in front of me. And that's awful. But when you're looking at the numbers, where do you think when you're looking for okay, where do the statistics lie that equated in the loss? You know, like where do you look? Are you looking at
I'm going
yards per
offense.
play?
I'm looking at yards
No,
per
no, no, no,
play.
no. That
Yeah,
makes sense. They only put up
exactly.
10 points, but so yards per play. What else?
Third
Red
down
zone.
percentage, red zone.
So what was their red zone?
0 for 1. And the two things that illustrate is the interception and the turnover. And they only had one red zone trip. Like those things both stand out to me. You get one red zone trip, and in that trip, you turn the ball over. I mean, it all kind of stems on the offensive side of football, but there's a sequence of plays on the defense that I wanted to illustrate as well that I thought was particularly bad. But all of it for me, when I'm looking at the numbers, kind of revolve around third down in red zone. And you can kind of look at it. Or just as you look at the game, there are some things that kind of jump out at you, like play distribution. It wasn't as bad as last game, but I believe they threw it 10 more times than they ran it. But I think that was really altered by the fact that James Conner went out of the game. I think they had every intention to continue to run it, but he got banged up in the game and he was out. So I don't necessarily kick Randy for that because I thought that they wanted to run it. And in fact, when he was healthy, they ran it pretty good. But when you're averaging,
don't worry on in the fourth quarter, no timeouts left. On a first down play, they ran it. No, I'm sorry, it was just inside the 2-minute warning. They ran the ball. Give me a break. Just fire him into the sun. Take him and just shoot him off into the sun and just be done with it.
He's just bad. Here's another number to just show you the ineptitude of this offense. They only average 4.5 yards per pass play. I mean that is so bad. That's bad in any era of football. I mean, you could go back to Crazy Legs. Who was it? Crazy Legs, Hirsch, or Don Houston Hudson, whatever his name was. I mean, you could go back to Otto Graham. I mean, 4.5 yards per pass play. I mean, that's a running play. Play.
And here's what's crazy. I would love to know if you differentiated these by quarterback. I bet Devlin Hodges' yards per pass play were less than that because Mason Rudolph had the touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson. He had a couple other throws down the middle that were, 15, 20 yardish. You take those away, goodness, that's even worse. Almost as bad as this. Shield 91 puts $2 in the tip jar. His Ward celebrating beating the Steelers, crying emoji.
And you got to put that on the Steelers, man. Hire the guy. Like Hines didn't earn a job. Hire the guy.
Well, they could have. They could have hired him prior to Daryl Drake being hired, and they didn't. And so now he's looking to get into coaching. I don't blame him, but at the same time, it's weird to see him in green and not the black and gold. But
Gotham City hoodies.
Yep. And here's a good question from Chris. He puts this in the live chat. He says, "You guys got any tips for dealing with a bunch of Jagoff Ravens fans?" I know I do. You know why? Because I live in the state of Maryland. So, yeah, I absolutely have tips for dealing with Jagoff Ravens fans. And that's just avoid them. Just avoid them. You see them coming, turn and walk the other way. Just say,
I got a better one. Bring some Old Bay and just hand out Old Bay. If you give them enough Old Bay seasoning, just hand out some Old Bay and they'll leave you alone. They'll use it for their crab boils and for the crab and for all the soft shell crab and all that good crab they got down in Maryland for the crab balls and all that good stuff. Just bring some Old Bay and some crab legs.
For as bad as the Ravens are, the food in Maryland is pretty flipping good. I'll tell you that. We have I don't even know what that is. Puts $5 in the tip jar. Says Steelers are still the 6th seed and get in with a win, or the Titans lost. NFL just didn't update the Titans lost just yet. The website I looked at did update both teams, and the Steelers are not the 6th seed. They are now the 7th seed because it comes down to strength of schedule, and the Steelers do not have that. So next week is going to be huge. Isaac puts $5 in the tip jar. Says he can't do that in terms of avoiding the Ravens fans because my dad is a Ravens fan. I guess you're seeing your family for the holidays, Isaac. So there you go.
I mean, that's a tough one for you. I'm not going to.
What a Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus. What a gift the Steelers gave the fan base today in this beautiful 16-10 loss. Ugh.
Man, that was like getting rocks in your bag, boy. That's like opening your present and you get rocks. Wasn't that in Charlie Brown? At some point, one of the Charlie Brown Christmas specials, they opened the present. It was a box of rocks. Or maybe
I
I'm
don't know,
wrong.
but this comment is geared towards you, and I can't believe they asked you to do it. I would love to see you attempt. Maxwell says, Lance talked me off the ledge. He wants the hater and Homer and Hater to talk him off a ledge.
They still have their destiny in their hands to a certain extent. I had to give you a
No,
long,
they
pregnant
don't. No,
pause.
they don't. No, they don't have that.
Here's the thing. They can win. If they win and Tennessee loses, they're in. I have told you that Tennessee is going to lose their last 3 games. They've lost the first 2. Trust me, they are going to lose to Houston again. Because you know what Houston's going to do? Because I think Houston, I think, will have to play. They're the 3 seed, correct? No. Houston's going to have to play the first week, right? Because the Ravens and the Patriots are going to be the 1 and 2 seeds.
Yeah.
I think Houston will play their players to stay sharp. And I think they are going to want to knock out a divisional opponent. They don't want to have to potentially play the Titans a 3rd time, because as the 3 seed, they would have to play the 6 seed. They don't want to have to play Houston again. If Houston doesn't want to have to play the Titans again. So I think you do everything that you can to knock out a divisional opponent. And why would you not want to knock out the Titans to play Devlin Duck Hodges and or Mason Rudolph? That's a setup game. You'll actually absolutely go out and try to win your last game to play this Steelers team at home in a playoff game. That's a layup.
Well, they wouldn't unless the Chiefs fall apart. The Chiefs are currently the 3 seed at 10-4. They're playing currently right now. So I guess technically, if the Chiefs were to lose tonight or today,
I'm guaranteeing the Chiefs. I'm hoping
the Chiefs are playing the Bears on Sunday Night Football. If they were to lose that game, and that game, let me double check here, is played at Chicago, then the Texans and Chiefs would be tied. Therefore, they would have the opportunity to potentially move into the 3 spots. That is possible. That is
so
possible.
I'm just,
Isaac,
I'm looking into my crystal ball. So I'm trying to make this up as I go. I'm kind of freestyling, trying to give you some.
Tell.
You
we
know,
can
because,
tell you're making it up.
I'm making it up as I go. I'm trying to add some ingredients because, I got 1 foot off the ledge myself. I'm probably holding on to the ledge, trying to pull myself up, and my muscles are straining because, can't do pull-ups like Jeff.
Upper body strength is important, Lance. Okay. A lot of people in the live chat are screaming for Paxton Lynch. And
no, you're not.
I get it.
No, you're not.
No. I'm not, but I get why they're saying it. It's because he's the next guy up. And we talked about this when everyone wanted Duck over Rudolph. It's because he's the next guy. It's the backup quarterback syndrome. We'll call it that. Paxton Lynch most likely will be active next week. And some people are saying bring him off the practice squad. He's not on the practice squad, people. He's on the 53-man roster. He's just inactive.
You don't want Paxton. You don't want Paxton Lynch.
I agree with you 100%. And at this point in time, it's just it's bad any way you slice it. This offense is this offense for the rest of this year, whether that's one more season, one more game, 1 more week, or whether it's 2 more weeks or maybe even 3. This offense is this offense. So if it's between Paxton Lynch and Devlin Hodges, it's going to be Devlin Hodges to get the start in week 17. If Rudolph is healthy, I would fully expect him to start. However, I'm reading that he left the stadium in a sling today. That's not good news. So it looks like maybe another Duck season will be extended for another week. Although I'm not sure that's actually.
You don't want. I'd rather punt the whole game than play Paxton Lynch. To be quite honest, I'd just rather punt and try to get turnovers and try to scoop and score than play Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch is like dating the young lady that dated 5 of your friends before you. Just don't do it.
Well, here's a question for you, Lance, and it comes off of this statement here. It says, why wouldn't you want Lynch? Rudolph would probably not play next week, and Duck's confidence is shot. It's all about
Lynch
that.
Stinks.
No. Will you let me talk? Cut me off. You can tell that Devlin Hodges' confidence is absolutely shot. Shot. And you saw the same look in Mason Rudolph when he was benched in week 12. You a big believer in that type of stuff, that a player's confidence somehow impacts the play? I do. I think that it's huge.
Of course it does. Of course it does. I mean, when you're feeling good and you're making plays, you feel like you can go make plays and do anything. Sometimes it gets you in trouble, but you can't play scared. I mean, he has no confidence. I mean, the guy's thrown 6 picks in 2 games. I mean, he's not making clear and accurate reads. I mean, I think what they have to do is coach Duck to take whatever you can get. Look, singles are fine. Punting is fine. Turnovers are not. Take what's there. Take the underneath stuff.
But sometimes you have to make a play. Sometimes you have to make a play. And when you have a quarterback that's unable to do that, that's what's awful. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's he has to learn when to hold him, when to fold him, learn when to walk away, learn when to run. Wow. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
Here's the question. Who sings that song?
Kenny Rogers. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
Kenny Rogers. Hey, man, I used to go to Kenny Rogers and eat all the time in Pittsburgh.
The Kenny Rogers chicken.
Yeah, when you're sitting at the table out in Monroeville.
Which obviously reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where Kenny Rogers chicken moves in across from Kramer. But
now I can't quote any Seinfeld. I don't think I've watched any episodes.
Oh, good. Get out of here. All right. So Eddie B puts $2 in the live chat and says, love the show. Definitely fun to watch. Offense sucks. I agree.
Let me ask Eddie B a question. Are you a Stark Eddie B? Hence the wolf photo in your whatever emoticon. Maybe he's a Stark from Winterfells.
I don't even know what that is. Steven Johnson says, puts $4.99 in the tip jar. He says, I challenge any offensive coordinator game plan week in and week out for major injuries at every skill position on offense. It's a mixed bag every week. While I agree with you, and I understand that that's the get out of jail for free card for the people that don't want to blame Randy Fichtner, what was the excuse this week? Who was hurt this week that, other than Ben Roethlisberger, who he hasn't had since week 2 at halftime, played half of that game against the Seahawks? What was the excuse this week when who was hurt?
Yeah, I'm going to side. I'm going to side with that comment though, Jeff, because that's my cousin. That's my cousin Steve from Pittsburgh. Went to Steel Valley High School. That's my guy, my little cousin Steve. So I'm going to agree with my cousin Steve. He's right. You're wrong, Jeff. Yes, Steve, you're right.
You're both wrong. There was no one hurt coming into this game. Juju Smith-Schuster played, and he wasn't 100%. You could tell. James Conner got hurt. Okay, Marquise Pouncey got hurt. But going into this game, this was the game plan. That's what it was. What you saw was the game plan.
Yes.
So what?
Yes.
You're going against the second best rush defense in the NFL, and you're trying to establish the run. Like, why would you bang your head against the wall? They have a horrible secondary. This is what is awful. I get what your point is over and over again about you got to play to your strength, which is your defense. Sometimes a punt is okay, but at some point you have to score points to win the game.
Yes.
You have to.
The problem is
he's not setting them up for success. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. I don't feel like he's setting them up.
Come on, Rev.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You've been trying to talk. I apologize.
It's fine, Rev. I mean, the problem is, and to my cousin's point is, you know what the Jets do well. They stop the run well, but you also know that you can't sling it like 35 times. So it's a mixed bag. I mean, you're just really in a tight spot. I don't like Randy, but I understand what Randy is working with. It's very, very, very tough. And Merry Christmas to my little cuz Steve. Big up to you and everybody down in Atlanta. Hope you have a fantastic Christmas. Thanks, Steve, for listening to the program.
Yeah, happy holidays. And so it's balanced, but it's not just balance. Like I tweeted this out during the game on our Twitter feed at BT Steel Curtain. If you don't follow us, do it. I run the feed during games. Is that Randy Fichtner's play calling frustrates me on a multitude of levels, but it's predictable most of the time. And then it almost seems like he's trying to outsmart the opposition. You know, instead of saying, okay, we need to win on first down. You sent that text to Dave and I. We need to win on first down. We have to do better on first down. And so they do what they always do. You know, they bring in their big package. They try to run it. They put 9 players in the box, gain of 1. Good win, coach. Thanks for that. I mean, where's a play action pass? When was the last time we saw a play action pass?
Yeah, man, they need to start targeting Zach Banner in the flat. Come on, man. I predicted Zach was going to get one catch this year. I need that to happen. I need that to happen.
Shoot, at this point, this is awful. Freaking awful. You can tell. You can tell. I mean, I'm getting fired up.
You want another? You want one more number, good Rev?
Yeah, let's do one more.
22 consecutive games with a turnover.
And they were bad. He threw it into triple coverage twice. I don't know. This is like the perfect storm. But I always tell myself this with this season only is that we now, and I say we because we are fans. Like, we're not in the locker room, we're not interviewing players, we're not watching practice or anything like that. But we as fans, we have completely flipped the script of expectations. It was only like, I don't know, 10 weeks ago that Lance and I were talking about dumb down your expectations. If you don't expect a lot, you won't get your heart broken. And then here we are again. You know, people were saying that Tomlin should be fired again. Even he went from coach of the year 2 weeks ago to being fired again.
Really? Wow, that's a drastic switch. But I mean, this is sort of like, you see the young lady that you had your eyes on forever. You don't think she'll ever give you the time of day. You ask her out, you're surprised. She says yes. You ask her out again, you're surprised. You're like, man, I got a shot at this. Then she dumps you on the third date and says, I really don't like you. You're nice, but I'm really not feeling you. Now you're upset. But you wouldn't have been upset if she had never said yes to the date. But now that you've dated her a couple times, now you really want her. And that's what this season is. That's what the playoffs are. The playoffs are that super attractive woman that you've had your eyes on that eludes you and that just falls through your fingers at the last minute. You get close, but you're really not that close because you see her in a restaurant with your best friend who had eyes on her as well.
I will say this, at 0-3 and at 1-4, if you would have said to me, hey, Jeff, here's the deal. It's going to be an up and down season. The Steelers are going to turn things around. But you know what? In week 17, you're going to have a game that's meaningful with a chance to make the playoffs. Will you take it? I would have said, hell yes, I'm going to take that. Yeah, where do I sign up? Absolutely. That's where we are.
I would take it too. I would take the shot too. I mean, you're still playing meaningful football late in the year, week 17. Unfortunate thing is both of these teams, the Titans and the Steelers, are the living definition of backing in to the playoffs.
Andrea puts $1.99 in the tip jar. She says, poor Jeff. I thought I felt bad watching this game. I just sat there and stared at the TV. It's just bad. XEDB says maybe we need a vet quarterback at least to protect the football. This team, and I'm going to get into that in a second. Snowman puts $5 in a tip jar. He says, what happened to playing 5 wide receiver sets? Haven't seen that this year. Well, probably because they haven't had 5 wide receivers that are capable this year. Their offensive line can't protect, and you have to have a quarterback to deliver to said wide receivers. So I don't know. But everyone's, maybe we need a veteran quarterback. This team was built around one guy. One guy.
Yes.
Number 7. The fat head that I'm looking at on my wall right there. Number 7. That's all it is.
Fat head.
Well, yeah. Someone said screw it. Someone in the left. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to say anything about his weight or his beard or anything like that. But someone in the live chat earlier said, screw it, give Ben a helmet. I wanted to say he's probably not going to put that thing on.
And you know what would be great on your fat head is that if you could water it and somehow the beard would grow. Sort of like that little, what was that chia pet thing where you watered it, it grew.
Chia pet, it would be great.
Yeah. It'd be great if you could just like spray the fat head and it would be like, you could just like connect it to, maybe his Madden profile. And I'm sure his weight and beard have grown on Madden and it was connected to the fat head or something and it could change. That'd be sweet. But it might not fit on your wall anymore.
No, it's pushing the limits as we speak. I don't know if it could withhold that, but this season has been intriguing. I've said that a multitude of times. This team has been frustrating, especially in the last 2 weeks. If they can somehow get in, though, like you said, it's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. And it's something that the Steelers didn't experience in 2018 when Ben was a quarterback. The last time they made it was 2017 when they lost to the Jaguars in the divisional round, that 13-3 season. So it's going to be.
I thought, Jeff, as you said that, how bad was last year that they didn't make the playoffs when they're on the verge of making the playoffs this year, or potentially could make the playoffs this year with this roster and quarterback play?
Like, well, I'll tell you what exactly it is. They had John Bostic at inside linebacker last year. Think about it.
But they had Mr. Third and Fifth. You had Juju. Vance was Vanimal. You had Ben. I mean, I guess that's what football is. It's complimentary. And just like they scored on that particular play where you got the strip sack, at least they've gotten 50 sacks. That's a number. They've gotten 50 sacks. Again, this is the first time, I think, in franchise history, 3 consecutive years of 50-plus sacks. TJ Watt, again, is playing the type of football that puts him in the conversation, I think, with Stephon Gilmore for Defensive Player of the Year. Your guy, Stud Dupree, gets 10.5 sacks. So you have bookend linebackers that both have double digits in sacks. Unfortunately, it's going to probably be very tough to keep one of them. To keep Stud Dupree is going to be very difficult. But yeah, it's not a lot of light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, when you think about this game and this team and that performance.
Mitchell Green says, "Come on, Jeff Hartman, you're so up and down about these playoffs." I get it. I hear myself talking. I know what I'm saying. For me, it comes down to the fact that mentally and as a homer, I look at where the Steelers have come from, and it's like, man, just getting in the playoffs would be awesome. Excuse me. However, the guy that's watched the team the last 2 weeks says, man, these guys suck.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem when you have to be optimistic. When you're the homer and you're an optimistic person, you're forced to try to find that silver lining. When you're the hater and you can be pessimistic, you're not saddled with trying to find positive stuff. You can just slam it. You're right, Mitch. This team is not very good right now. There is not very much of a silver lining. And as the hashtag hater, I'm not forced to see it. So I feel liberated and free.
I'm getting it both ways because if you think about it, I have to deal with trying to be optimistic. And then 2, it's also a situation where the offense, which I normally cover, is not good at all. It used to be you'd have to try to talk about the defense on the Standard as the Standard every Wednesday night. And you'd be like, oh, man, the defense with Antoine Blake and Cortez Allen and John Bostic and all these bums that were on the defense. And I'm like, we got Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, all these players. Now I know what it feels like.
You know what? One last number, Jeff, that's incredible. Let me ask you, how many first downs do you think the Steelers got in the game, not including penalties?
How many first downs? I'm going to say
excluding penalties.
5.
A little bit more than that. They had 12 first downs this game.
That's a lot more than I thought.
And the Jets had 11 themselves passing.
How many? How many plays did the Steelers run on offense?
My eyes are bad as I go down. The Steelers had 66 plays. They actually had more plays than the Jets. They had 6 more plays than the Jets. Jets had 60 plays. So the Steelers averaged, again, 3.9 yards per play to the Jets' 4.3.
Wow. Grayson, your boy, the hater, puts $4.99 in the tip jar. Says all these positive stats mean nothing. They're not competing for a Super Bowl on to the next.
Hey, man, Grayson is not a hater. Grayson is a payer. I love Grayson. Team hater. I wish all of you homers were like Grayson. Team hater. Keep hating, Grayson. We love it. Keep filling up the tip jar, baby. I love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we appreciate all the financial contributions you're providing to the show. We are currently, if you're wondering where all these donations go, not only are we providing new microphones for all of our hosts, but we're also, we just upgraded our streaming service here. So we're hoping Getting Bent with Bo is going to be helping out the program with giving us some backdrops Going to have the BTSC logo, might have the name of the show on it. It's going to look a little bit more professional there, Lance.
There's one thing as well that I don't think you're aware of, Jeff, that we're going to be doing with those proceeds is that we're going to be giving away some of those Devlin Hodges for stocking stuffers. We're going to be providing some of those T-shirts for underprivileged kids in the Western Pennsylvania area. They come in a variety of sizes and colors.
All I've got to say is that thank goodness that these shirts are not pre-made. They are made they're made based on order. But I got an email from the company Breaking Tea, which is a great company, by the way. And they put in a lot of work to get this Devlin Hodges licensed line of apparel. And I had been telling them when duck season was at its prime, like, look, we're missing an opportunity here, just so you know. And they said, we're trying, we're working. Well, they finally got it. And so then they win the first game, they win. And then here comes the Bills game. And I'm thinking if they can win this game, if Devlin Hodges can extend his starting streak again, well, they lose. He throws 4 picks. I'm thinking this is bad. Then they put out more shirts. I'm thinking this is really bad because he's not playing well right now. And then today happened. And I wanted to send him an email like, you might want to just call that off. Just call that off.
Here's an option. Maybe they can sell the T-shirts to Duck, and so Duck can sell them out of his trunk next year when he's trying out for a variety of teams.
Shoot, XFL's got him on lockdown, or the CFL if he doesn't in the NFL. I don't know.
It's probably harder to throw in Saskatchewan. Yeah, it's probably.
What the hell are we talking about? This is awful. Yeah, this is we're rambling because this team is just flat out bad. And I hate saying that, but they are, because you are a team. You win as a team, you lose as a team, and they're bad. And Mike Tomlin and the coaching staff have a lot of work to do. But here's what it comes down to. You don't control your own destiny anymore. Lydell's right. He said the season is not over. No, it's not over. They still have one game to play, but you don't control your own destiny. And that is where things get dicey.
Now, let me add a comment, Jeff. Now, given that Ian Rappaport gave us the stats, maybe the stats that we got from the live chat, maybe it's right? Maybe the live chat, or did you get some other stats about the playoff seeding other than from Ian Rappaport? Because I know I quoted Ian Rappaport, who I don't entirely trust.
He's an idiot. NFL.com playoff picture machine is what I use. It updates. It already has updated. That's the league's website. I'm going to trust that. Why? What are you seeing?
No, I'm just wondering, because I'm just hoping that Ian is bad, and what the guy in the live chat said was possibly correct. But if you're going from
let me hold on. Let me refresh this, see if they've updated. They had the Steelers loss, but I just looked and they didn't have the Tennessee loss yet. We'll see what it shows here. Yep, still the 7 seed, but yep, they just updated it to the Titans 8-7. They're still the 6 seed. So
see, okay, all righty, all right. Thank you in the live chat, Ian Rappaport. Good old Ian. We can always guarantee that Ian will be bad.
Yeah, and Dave, he chimes in and says it's not the Steelers are 7. So there you go. So here we go.
So I'm confused now. Kylo Ren says it's Steelers 7, but the NFL website said they're 6, right? I don't know. Anyway, just win and
bad.
Just win and figure it out. Jeez.
So here's what's going to be happening coming up here for the show and for the platform. Number one, there's not going to be an off season for us. If anything, I'm looking to double down in the off season. And no, we're not going to have a bunch of shows, but we're going to have shows specific for a lot of different things that we typically will talk about in the off season. We'll talk about that when that gets here. So I want you all to know right now, if you're listening, that we're not going anywhere. We're not going to take a 3-month hiatus and then just start talking again when the draft rolls around. No, we're not going anywhere. Second thing, we're going to have the Steelers hangover tomorrow, which is Festivus for a lot of people. Seinfeld fans know what that is. Obviously, Brian Anthony Davis and Tony DeFeo will be on. Wednesday, Tuesday is the Steelers Stat Geek with Dave, the brother Schofield. They're going to be doing their show a little bit earlier, but they still are going to do it. Lance and I are going to try to get on here at some point on Christmas Day. We'll have to try to talk about our schedules and things like that and to do a Christmas Day show. And then the rest of this week is business as usual. So I know that I want to wish everyone that's out there watching this, we have almost, it's just shy of 300 people in the live chat right now. Wishing you all a happy holidays, whatever holiday you partake in. I hope you have a great one. I hope it's safe. Lance, any final thoughts before we call it a show?
I definitely want to do a Christmas show. But I think the Christmas show should be a little bit different. I think it should just be, granting Christmas wishes, like around Steelers Christmas wishes. Like, what are your Steelers Christmas wishes? And we talk about Steeler Christmas wishes on Wednesday. Who wants to talk about just X's and O's?
I'm going to be writing in that article, actually. I already have it started a little bit, my Christmas wish list for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we can talk about that and all that good stuff.
This is why we are brothers in beard, right? We were thinking of the same thing.
Yeah, it's about time for me to shave. So anyways. Very good. So, folks, if you haven't done so yet, if you've listened this whole time, make sure you like the video. It goes a long way to helping us. Like, subscribe, set your notifications by hitting that bell. Hit it 20 times so you finally get to the screen where you can set it up. However you like it, email, push button notification, doesn't matter. Make sure you don't miss a show by doing that. And also on our audio platforms, make sure you subscribe to that channel, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and leave us a good review. I know on iTunes, leaving us a 5-star, leaving us a comment really, really helps, and it's totally free. For everyone that's been in the live chat today and has donated money and everything like that, we really, really appreciate it. Lance, why don't you send us off?
And as always, listeners, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. And from me and Jeff, happy holidays.
Amen. We'll see you next week after Week 17's 1 o'clock game against the Baltimore Ravens. Have a good one, everybody.